Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Money Means Business. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we're going to focus on the latest economic developments domestically and globally, but more on the domestic front, and we will be shedding more light on the main top stories that took place over the past week through the activities of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Badr Abdulati, and the Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Karim Badawi. We will be starting straight away with the main top story for tonight, as the Prime Minister said that the new budget is aiming at continuing improving the quality of services provided to the citizens. Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister, held the weekly press conference following the cabinet meeting at the government headquarters in the new capital. The Prime Minister extended the sincere congratulations to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Egyptian people on the approaching 13th anniversary of the June 30th revolution. He recalled the historic day when the armed forces under the leadership of the President stood in support of millions of Egyptians who took to the streets to correct the country's course and save the Egyptian state from a path that many feared it was heading toward. In another context, the Prime Minister noted that the state budget for the new fiscal year was approved this week. He expressed his appreciation and thanks to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Councillor Hisham Badawi, and all the members of the Parliament, noting that he closely followed the serious and the constructive discussions that contributed to shaping the new state budget. Dr. Madbouli explained that the new budget aims at continuing improving the quality of services provided to the citizens, especially in the health and education sectors, while also strengthening and expanding the social protection programs. Allocations for the health sector have been increased by approximately 30% compared to the previous year, while the education spending had risen by about 20%. Social protection programs will receive £837 billion and £822 billion have been allocated for the wages and salaries. The Prime Minister added that the budget also aims at reducing the public debt, targeting the debt to GDP ratio of approximately 78% by June of 2027. The government also plans to reduce the external debt by between $1 billion and $2 billion, lower the financing needs of the entities to around 10% of the GDP, and reduce the debt servicing cost to about 35% of the total budget expenditures over the medium term. And still with the activities of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, but in the field of renewable energy. At the cabinet headquarters, the new capital, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli witnessed the signing ceremony of a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, to establish the country's first wind turbine manufacturing plant, as well as to develop a 2,000 megawatt wind power project in the northern Gulf of Suez region. The event was attended by Engineer Mahmoud Asmat, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy. The MOU comes as part of the government's plan to support the industry, localize the modern technology, and increase the local content share in the renewable energy projects. It also aims at expanding the electrical equipment manufacturing sector, implementing solar and wind energy projects using the local currency, and leveraging the Egyptian trade agreements to export to Africa and the Middle East. The agreement was signed between SANY of China, which possesses advanced wind turbine manufacturing technology on one side, and the Egyptian Electricity Transmission Company, together with the New and Renewable Energy Authority on the other. The objective is to establish Egypt's first wind turbine manufacturing facility to supply the locally produced equipment and components for the wind energy projects, while also exporting the surplus production. And still with the activities of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli on the economic front for the past week. As Dr. Madbouli, the Prime Minister, held a meeting to discuss expanding the establishment of a number of modern livestock stations. The meeting was attended by Mr. Ala Farouk, the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, Engineer Mustafa Al-Sayyad, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, and Dr. Baha Al-Ghannam, the Executive Director of the Future of Egypt Sustainable Development Authority. At the beginning of the meeting, the Prime Minister emphasized that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has directed the government to give special attention to the food security file, especially through expanding the establishment of the major livestock stations. These projects are expected to increase the supply of the livestock in the markets and meet the citizens' needs. Dr. Madbouli noted that such projects are part of the state's efforts to achieve the market balance and stabilize the red meat prices by building a strong and sustainable national production base that relies on the best scientific methods to increase productivity and improve the livestock breeds. During the meeting, Mr. Ala Farouk, the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, reviewed the ongoing coordination efforts between the Ministry and the Future of Egypt Sustainable Development Authority to provide a sustainable source of highly productive livestock, and these efforts include contracting suppliers to provide livestock, as well as ensuring the availability of the quarantine services, feed, medicines, vaccinations, equipment, and the necessary transportation means. We will have a quick break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching Money Means Business, and I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight Dr. Nader Khadr, the finance and investment expert. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Anytime. First of all, we'll be reviewing or resuming the top stories that we have read before the break, and after the break we will be reviewing the activities of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, and more specifically in the Governorate of South Sinai, as Dr. Madbouli, the Prime Minister, reviewed the implementation status of the service and the development projects in the Governorate of South Sinai during a meeting attended by Dr. Manal Awad, the Minister of Local Development and Environment, Major General Dr. Ismail Kamel, the Governor of South Sinai, and his deputy, Dr. Ines Sabir. At the beginning of the meeting, the Prime Minister emphasized the strong commitment to monitoring the implementation of the service and the development projects that are important to the citizens across all the governorates. He also discussed the investment plans for each governorate, which include the execution of various projects in different cities. These efforts are intended to accelerate the project implementation, bring them into operation for the benefit of the citizens, and improve the quality of the services provided to them. For her part, Dr. Manal Awad confirmed that there is close coordination between South Sinai Governorate and the companies implementing the various development and service projects. The goal is to speed up the progress and the complete of those projects according to the planned timelines, thereby enhancing the level of services provided to the residents of South Sinai. Dr. Nader, not just about South Sinai and this governorate in specific, but the implementation of the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli is to be attracting investments to all the governorates across the Republic, and more specifically for the South Sinai Governorate. How do you see the feasibility of such an idea?
Actually, South Sinai Governorate represents a major focus for our economy during the coming period, especially with the situation is settling down in the region, having the tourism, the traffic and airlines traffic again back as normal, or getting back in business as usual. We expect that the tourism activity to contribute more in the GDP during the coming period, and South Sinai Governing Rate with its main three destinations in the east and its four destinations in the west represent a huge percentage of tourism activity within the GDP and its contribution. Of course, tourism itself is a attracting activity or attracting business that pulls after it many other sectors such as construction, industrial and services to provide the tourism and leisure business its needed services. Accordingly, it is to be focused on the Red Sea Governing Rate and South Sinai Governing Rate for its importance in the tourism business during the coming period.
Yes, Dr. Nader, allow me to be going to the report of the Money Means Business episode for this week, and more specifically regarding the statements of the Minister of Economic Development. Dr. Ahmed Rustom was speaking in the past week, one of the main economic events that took place over the past 7 days. The statements stating the review of the third quarter of the fiscal year for this year, 2026-2027, in comparison to the third quarter of the past fiscal year. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
Dr. Ahmed Rustom, Minister of Planning and Economic Development, reviewed Egypt's economic performance indicators for the third quarter of fiscal year 2025-2026 during the cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli. The minister noted that the Egyptian economy achieved a 5% growth rate during the third quarter of the fiscal year 2025-2026, compared to 4.8% in the corresponding quarter of the previous fiscal year. This exceeded earlier expectations that growth might slow to 4.6% due to regional geopolitical tensions, their impact on global supply chains, and rising oil prices. The minister added that the Suez Canal sector recorded notably positive performance during the third quarter, becoming the fastest growing economic activity with a growth rate of 23.6%. This performance reflects the authority's success in maintaining smooth maritime traffic and providing navigation services efficiently despite the current regional conditions and tensions, demonstrating the canal's resilience and its continued vital role in global trade. He continued that the ICT sector maintained its strong performance during the quarter, achieving a growth rate of 20.3%. This positive performance was driven by the expansion of telecommunications and digital technology services, as well as growing demand for internet services and digital applications, reflecting the accelerating pace of digital transformation and the sector's increasing contribution to economic growth. The minister explained that the petroleum sector recorded a positive turnaround during the third quarter of fiscal year 2025-2026, posting a growth rate of 0.7% for the first time since the first quarter of the fiscal year 2023-2024. This improvement was attributed to higher domestic production of crude oil, condensates, and LPG, indicating signs of recovery in this vital sector. He further noted that total implemented investments during the third quarter reached approximately £637 billion, compared to £531 billion during the corresponding period of the fiscal year 2024-2025, an increase of about £106 billion. This reflects a noticeable improvement in investment activity and sustained investment momentum across various sectors of the economy. Regarding the distribution of investments between the public and private sectors, Dr. Rustom stated that indicators show the continued expansion of the private sector's contribution to investment activity. The share of private investments rose from an average of 35 to 39% during the fiscal year 2023-2024, to more than 50% during the fiscal year 2024-2025, with this elevated level continuing through the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 2025-2026. This reflects the success of government efforts to strengthen the private sector's role as the primary driver of investment and economic growth. Conversely, public investment's share of total investment declined relatively, reflecting the state's strategy of reallocating investment roles and creating greater space for private sector participation in development projects and sustainable economic growth. In concluding his presentation, the Minister noted that the economic growth achieved during the 3rd quarter of fiscal year 2025-2026 was driven primarily by household consumption, which contributed 6.1 percentage points to growth compared to 4.8 percentage points during the corresponding quarter of fiscal year 2024-2025. He added that the contribution of current government expenditure increased to 3.1 percentage points compared to 0.3 percentage points during the comparison period, highlighting the positive role of government spending in supporting economic activity and boosting growth. At the same time, the contribution of investment and inventory changes improved to 0.9 percentage points compared with a negative contribution of 2.4 percentage points during the corresponding period, indicating a significant improvement in investment activity and growing confidence in the Egyptian economy.
Welcome back. You're still watching Money Means Business, and I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight Dr. Nader Khadr, the finance and investment expert. Thank you very much once again for being with us. During the break, we were speaking about the activities of the Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Dr. Ahmed Rustam, and the statements that we have seen throughout the past report. How would you assess his activities during the past 2 weeks, to say the least?
Actually, Dr. Ahmed, the Minister of Planning and Economic Development, has been going viral over the globe during the past 2 weeks,
yes,
having lots of meetings, lots of conferences to attend, speeches to conclude. However, for his statements are coming along with the expectations of his Egyptian economy, especially that he's a man of the economy, so he's more into the details,
yes,
as we say. He knows where the tractor sectors of the economy are, so he tackled these points: the consumption of the state, the government, the consumption of the household, the contribution of the private business and the private sector. The usual numbers for Egypt before 2010-2011 were nearly 2/3 for the private sector and 1/3 for the government.
yes.
During the past 2 decades, we have seen the upheavals that we have witnessed that contributed so much in retreating confidence in the Egyptian economy. So this is why the state had to step in and to cover the lost part from the private sector. So this is why we have seen in 2016 throughout 2019 the private sector contribution gone down to nearly 1/3 of the GDP. Currently, the state has regained the trust in the Egyptian economy. We can see foreign investments pouring in, not so much as before, but yet we have reached suitable levels. Accordingly, it's time for the private sector to lead again and be the tractor according to the international economic environment. Yet we are seeing and expecting rough times across the global economy, where the state has to focus its efforts for the most needing layers of the community, and on the other side, in boosting and encouraging private sector to generate more jobs to sustain the living conditions. As per the statements, I can see we are going on track. I can see, according to the new budget that has been approved by the Parliament and its two chambers,
Yes.
we are expecting growth over 5%, might extend and expand during the coming 2 years to 7%, hopefully. Egypt's role in filling out the gaps that is expected to happen due to the economic crisis expected in the international economic arena is a major chance for us. We have to grasp it. So this is why we're focusing on processing, on integrated supply chains, on manufacturing and industries, on facilitating raw materials traffic through Egypt and its ports, either dry ports or marine ports. We expect to have a big role in the economy,
Yes.
in the global economy during the coming period.
Yes, Dr. Nader Khadr, the finance and the investment expert. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of Money Means Business for this week. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.